Chapter 31, Article 2 of the Code of the City of Miami, Florida, as amended, titled Local Business Tax and Miscellaneous Business Regulations, Local Business Tax, more particularly by amending Section 31-51 titled Food Trucks Operating on Private Land to require site plan approval for food trucks on private property that park overnight or are present more than 3 days a week, creating standards for such site approval, providing for an exemption for such requirements for properties used by religious institutions, containing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
I'll move it.
It's been properly moved.
This one's for food trucks.
The chair will second, but I do have some discussion about the item. You recognize Commissioner Guerrero, then Commissioner Reyes.
Here we go again with the food trucks. And my concern with the food trucks is, one, they affect anyone that leases or rents brick and mortar properties. They don't pay the rents, the taxes that individuals that have brick and mortar places paid. It brings down neighborhoods, because if you fill neighborhoods with food trucks, it's going to affect those establishments. I can tell you that part of the reason that in Little Havana, we've had more new restaurants than ever opening up, from the very large to the very small, is that we've done away with the food trucks. And people are going to eat in the business establishments that pay very high rents. I don't know why we need this. We've had laws that were implemented already, and we keep putting more and more and more on food trucks.
Mr. Reyes, I believe you're next.
To understand that the food trucks, they affect if we allow them to proliferate. They will affect the brick and mortars business, and I think that we should have some. I agree with Commissioner that we should have regulation on it, but at the same token, I remember that sometimes at school, when I was a teacher, we used to bring food trucks, and they were parked there, and they were doing business there, and all the kids, they liked it. And every time that we have an event, also now when I have Jazz in the Park and all of that, there are food trucks that come here, and I would like to make an exception for government and the Department of Education.
For government and educational?
That's right. Okay. But department, like schools, for example, government, which is us. Now, come November, we're gonna have Latin Jazz in the Park in Shenandoah. You see, we're gonna bring food trucks. I mean, we're gonna provide them with everything that is possible for them to have a good time. And amongst those amenities, it's gonna be food trucks that they can buy and all of that. I think that we should be able to bring it in.
So, if I may, when I think about the food trucks, I also couple it with the issues that we have with temporary use permits. So the typical site that will have a food truck in my district, this included the wharf. Now there's a space on 7th Avenue and 48th Street. This is also inclusive of Wynwood Yard. You know, these were sites that had no development on them. They were vacant lots. Mm-hmm. In one case, it was just a bunch of 16-wheeler trucks, no, what do we call it, 18-wheeler? I guess 18-wheeler trucks that were parked there adjacent to someone's home. And And the TUPs, along with the regulations that allow food trucks, activated those spaces. It made them spaces that people wanted to come to. It turned underutilized assets that were paying taxes to the city of Miami to revenue producing assets that the food trucks did pay a rent for, and that gave people an opportunity to come and enjoy themselves and to create new small businesses via the food trucks, hire employees via the food trucks, and then attract people into a space that they probably would have never come but for the TUP and the food truck combination being there together. The food trucks and I believe the TUPs are not operating on the same playing field as the existing businesses. The existing business, say for instance, if there is a business that is next to a vacant lot that has a food truck on it, that business operates 7 days a week, whatever it may be. Like for instance, in this legislation, the food trucks that are present in the same location, they cannot be in there more than 3 times per week. And that's important, right? So what it says is that this is not something that is an everyday business, but it creates opportunities maybe for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A place where people can come to. So I think that food trucks can be positive for these spaces. Now I can imagine, a food truck that parks if you have a taco food truck that parks in front of a taco business, then that could be problematic. Maybe we should do something about something like that. Maybe we should consider something like that. But the way that I think about this in relation to the food trucks is that problem that we have where we have an underutilized asset that is causing ills within the community that doesn't encourage any or attract anyone to the space. I think that the Wynwood Yard space, it raised the property value of the properties that are in the area and then gave them the revenue in which they could actually build a permanent structure, or no structures are permanent, but a brick and mortar structure on that site. So that the intent is not for it to always remain that. The issue that I have with this piece of legislation that I want us to consider here is that this says that under Part 7, and then I'll go into B, food trucks that are present in the same location more than 3 times per week and or park on the site overnight shall. So it goes into food trucks present more than 3 times a night, but especially have a public restroom available on site if food or beverages are being served for consumption on site. And the kind of issue that I have there, because we're talking about food trucks shall not be able to do this unless there's a public restroom available on site. So does that put the onus on the food truck provider or on the person that owns the lot where the food truck is supposed to be? And then also, I think that's the best question.
Sure.
If we would cite food trucks, we would cite the property.
What do you mean?
Whatever property they're on, if they're not following whatever the scheme is, we would cite the property.
Not the food truck.
Not the food truck. I know that we're working on with code enforcement to give individual citations to, but we're still working on that. Okay. On those that aren't attached to
yes.
property.
You see, I want to make a distinction, or I want a clarification here. When we talk about food trucks, are we talking about the truck that that moves from one place to the other, right? Well, how about, you see, this Monday when we were at the Martin Luther King parade, after we finished, I went to pass by a place and there was a smell so delicious of, but it wasn't a food truck, it was a trailer that were doing ribs. You see, it was a trailer. And they were doing ribs, and it was parked on a parking lot. And we went, it was a 23rd and 62nd, delicious. And we went and we had lunch there, you see, and then my wife and everybody.
That was in the county, right?
Yeah.
That's county problems, but go ahead.
No. But how does that trailer is classified? Is that a food truck? Or is that trailer different? Madam City Attorney? Victoria, mi amor. okay?
I'm sorry.
Is that a food truck, or it is something else? Because it's a trailer.
Right.
It is detached from the automobile. I mean, from the.
As we had described it, because our definition of food truck is so expansive, what you described as the trailer serving food
It's a trailer that
would
they
be a
sell-
food truck.
They cook there too.
Right. But it would be considered a food truck.
It would be considered a food
Because
truck.
we don't have dimensions to our food truck ordinance. We don't have, but as described, even though it's a big trailer, it would still be considered a food truck.
But
I mean, we could legislate it differently in the future if you want to explore it, but right now, as it was described,
it's a crying shame that we put those people to making a living, honestly, and working, and doing what the specialty is.
So,
And people will come from all over the place. And maybe they don't have the funds to have a brick and mortar locale. And I think that, I don't know, it's,
but right
I
now,
have
they
mixed
could,
feelings about it.
right.
See,
They could come in under this for now. They could,
I have
if
mixed
they're
feelings.
movable, they could technically come in under this.
That's right.
so I'll explain to you, one of our most notable success stories from food trucks is House of Mac. That's been featured on national news programs. House of Mac started with a food truck that broke down all the time as he moved it from space to space. When the Wynwood Yard was created, he parked his space there, and it became the most popular truck there. And since then, and that's been, I mean, maybe within 2 years, he is now included in. He's opened businesses at the Brightline station in Overtown, just near Wynwood, in North Miami, in North Miami, and I think maybe another location. He started, I think, in Miami Beach as well. So he's done a number of different locations, just starting from the food truck. And so it goes to tell you that a food truck that was not brand new, that was breaking down, went from doing that to having and employ all kinds of these businesses because they started as a food truck. So that's why I'm it's food trucks aren't cheap to acquire. However, I've seen some people who are very creative, and as you described, a trailer or a grill connected to a flatbed truck or a truck or a car is all you need to get started. If you have good food, people will come to you. But particularly with this legislation, I wanted to just make sure that this is about not only those food trucks, but the food trucks that pull up to those locations that are temporary use permits that are underutilized. And I think that's what makes this good legislation. We just have to make sure that we keep it all within the rule of the law, so that it does not breed the issues between the brick and mortar businesses and the food truck business. That's all I'm saying. So I'm in favor of the legislation, especially after it's been confirmed to me that you're not citing the food truck owner, but the owner of the site where the food truck is.
And the only thing that I also will ask for an amendment that leave government and the school system out.
So right now,
Add them in.
Eh?
Add them in.
right,
Yes.
right now, city property, the waivers for this is city property and property owned and operated by religious institution shall not be subject to this section. So city property is what you were worried about. And then we're going to add the education.
Education, schools and all that. Okay.
Does the mover agree?
Yes.
I agree as well.
If I may ask for an exemption in District 3.
He wants to be
An
exempted
exception
from
on
this
District 3.
of District
Yes, so in this legislation, we still have subsection F3, prohibitions, food truck usage is prohibited in District 3.
Yeah, it's already printed there.
Yeah, it's there. From
And
before.
I want to leave it open that any other district that wants to limit them be able to.
You can jump in right now if you like.
No, I don't have no problem with it. Just in case. Just in
Okay.
case.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against?
As amended.
Noted 4-1.